Now that we've looked at conditional probability and developed a formula for conditional probability for the probability of some event A given some event B, we're going to look at applying it to a range of different cases, starting in this video with tree diagrams. Let's take a look at this question. Okay, Claire likes to play tennis, don't we all? When it is sunny, there is an 80% chance she plays. When it is not sunny, there is only a 30% chance she plays. It is sunny 65% of the time where she lives. Given that she plays tennis on a given day, find the probability that it was sunny. Okay, so we know that in general it's 65% likely that it's sunny, but now we've got this extra bit of information. She played tennis. So how does that change things? We know that she's more likely to play tennis if it's sunny, so does that change the probability that it was in fact sunny that day? By the way, we're not claiming that her playing tennis causes it to be sunny or anything daft like that. We're just saying, given that information, what can we say about the weather? Well, this is really difficult to represent on a Venn diagram. Well, I've kind of spoiled it now, but I would encourage you to try. And then once you've suffered for a few minutes not being able to do it, you realise tree diagram is the way to go. The reason why a tree diagram is the way to go is that really we've got some conditional probabilities here, because we know that, given that it's sunny, there's an 80% chance she plays, and given that it's not sunny, there's a 30% chance she plays. So those are like walking down a branch of the tree and then saying what's the probability she plays. So here's a tree diagram representing this all. We've got, it's either sunny or it's not sunny. So S or not S. I'm going to use that S dash, the complement of S. And we know that in general, it's 0.65 for sunny, and therefore it's 0.35 for not sunny. Now, what about the tennis? Well, if it's sunny, she either plays tennis or she doesn't play tennis. And the probabilities there are, well, if she plays tennis, if it's sunny, then there's an 80% chance she plays tennis, and therefore there is a 20% chance that she doesn't play tennis. And if it's not sunny, she either plays tennis or she doesn't. And if it's not sunny, then there's a 30% chance she plays tennis, and therefore there is a 70% chance that she doesn't play tennis. So this represents all the four possible outcomes. It's either sunny and she plays, sunny and she doesn't, not sunny and she plays, not sunny and she doesn't play. All right, that's a 7 there. Okay, so given that she plays tennis, find the probability of sunny. So the question is saying, what's the probability that it was sunny given that she played tennis? So let's just be strict about our formula here. That is the probability that it was sunny and she played tennis divided by the probability that she played tennis. That is just a direct application of my conditional probability formula. So can we work any of this out? Well, the probability that it was sunny and she played tennis is just the sunny and tennis branch. And remember, we multiply along the branches of tree diagrams. So that's just 0.65 times 0.8. So 0.65 times 0.8 on the top. All right, so what about this denominator here? That's the probability of T. Well, the probability she plays tennis. Okay, well, there's two ways that can happen. Either it was sunny and she played tennis, or it was not sunny and she played tennis. So we'll probably need a new line for that, actually. So the probability that she plays tennis is, it was either sunny and she played, so that's 0.65 times 0.8, or it was not sunny and she played, which is 0.35 times 0.3. So what's that? Well, I key that into my calculator, 0.65 times 0.8 plus 0.35 times 0.3. Well, that's 0.625. So that's the probability that she plays tennis overall. So that's what I'm going to be dividing by, 0.625. Well, now I can just work all of this out. So all of that stuff is equal to 0.65 times 0.8 divided by 0.625. And what do I get? I get 0.832. So that is the probability that it was sunny given that she played tennis. So let's just think about that for a second. We know that in general, there's a 65% chance that it's sunny. But if you've learned that Claire played tennis on a certain day, you get to update your belief. You get to, in fact, say, now I know that there was a roughly an 83% chance that it was sunny. So that's actually the kind of at the heart of that Bayes theorem, Bayesian thinking, is updating your beliefs based on on new evidence. All right, let's have a look at another example. Now, this question just is basically an old GCSE question, but I've adapted it to make it conditional, and I think it's quite counterintuitive. So there are 12 counters in a bag, 8 are red and 4 are blue. One counter is drawn out and not replaced, a second is then drawn out. Given that the second counter was blue, find the probability the first counter was red. I think most people's gut feeling is like, the second counter has no effect on the first, so why would it not just be 8/12ths, right? There are 8 to begin with, so why would it matter? Well, let's have a look. So here's my first pick. My first pick is either red or blue. And let's call this R1 to show that my first pick was red and my first pick was blue. So there is, what's the probability that my first pick is red? Probably my first pick is red is 8/12ths, and the probability that my first pick is blue is 4/12ths. So my second pick is either R2 to show the second one I pick is red, or it's B2. And if I picked blue the first time, again, it's R2 here or B2 here. Now, what are the probabilities? Well, if I picked red on my first go, there's only 7 reds left. So 7 out of the remaining 11 are red, but still 4 of them are blue. Whereas if I picked blue on the first go, there are still 8 reds left out of 11, but there's only 3 blues left. So what's the question? It's saying, given that the second counter was blue, so given B2, find the probability the first counter was red. So what is the probability of R1 given B2? Well, using my conditional probability formula, I know that's the probability of the first one was red and the second one was blue, divided by the probability that the second one was blue. All right, so let's work out the probability that the second one was blue first, because there's 2 ways that happened. Either the first one was red and the next one was blue, or the first one was blue and the second one was blue. So it's either that the first one was red and the second one was blue, or it's that the first one was blue and the second one was blue. So let's smash all of that into the calculator. 8/12ths times 4/11ths plus 4/12ths times 3/11ths, and that gets us 1/3. So the probability that the second counter was blue is 1/3. So that's the numerator here. So it's definitely going to be a divided by 1/3. What's the denominator? That's the denominator. The numerator, R1, B2, is that the first one was red and the second one was blue. So if we multiply those together, just multiply 8/12ths by, not this one, it's the first one was red and the second one was blue, so it's this one here, that's 8/12ths times 4/11ths. So 8/12ths times 4/11ths is 8/33. So that's what goes here, 8/33. So what is that? Well, it's 8/33 divided by 1/3, and the answer is 8/11ths. So that's actually, I think, a slightly curious result, because it says, given that the second counter was blue, find the probability the first counter was red. And it turns out the probability the first counter was red was not this number here, it was different. So I think that's quite a kind of counterintuitive case where it feels like the second pick shouldn't affect the first, and it doesn't. It's just that being told what the second pick was does actually change our view about what the first one was. Again, it's just a almost a blind application of the formula which gets you over the line. All right, in the next video, I'm going to show you one of the most famous examples of conditional probability, which is when it's applied to medical testing and diseases. A super famous example and one of my favorite bits of counterintuitive probability ever. So stick around and I'll see you in the next video.